Lieutenant Evan Cole stepped out of the dropship, his boots pressing down on the red dust of the alien world. The air was dry but breathable. Twin suns hovered in the sky, casting long shadows across the landing zone. He glanced around, his heart beating faster not from fear, but from excitement. This was his first assignment in the Galactic Peace Corps, the first ever joint unit with humans and aliens working side by side. He adjusted the strap of his gear and tried to look confident. Around him, soldiers of different species moved with quiet focus. Some were tall and insect-like, others floated slightly above the ground, wrapped in energy suits. And then there was Hertha, a Karan warrior. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, her posture strong and commanding. Her armor shimmered in the sunlight silver-gray with deep blue lines that pulsed faintly like veins of glowing stone. It was made of something far more advanced than anything Earth had produced. The curves of the plating were perfectly shaped to her form, and it looked both beautiful and dangerous. Evan didn't mean to stare. He really didn't, but he couldn't help it. The way the armor caught the light. The small markings etched into the shoulders. The way it moved slightly as she shifted her stance, it was like looking at a living machine. He tilted his head slightly, studying the craftsmanship. He wondered how it was built, what powered it, and whether it could deflect plasma bolts. That's when she turned, her eyes bright silver like moonlight locked onto his. She tilted her head ever so slightly, and her long dark braid slid over one shoulder. For a brief moment, the world around them fell silent. Then she blinked once, turned, and walked into the command tent. Evan blinked and shook his head, feeling heat rise to his ears. "Smooth, Lieutenant," muttered a voice behind him. It was Chick, an insectoid soldier with 4 eyes and a sarcastic tone. "You just stared at Commander Avella's armor for a full 12 seconds. Either you're very brave or very foolish." "I was just curious," Evan said quickly. "It's impressive armor, that's all." Chick chuckled, the sound like metal tapping on glass. "Well, to the Akarans, staring at someone's armor is not just curiosity. It's like giving them a flower and asking them to dinner. Bold move, human." Evan froze. "Wait, what?" "You'll see," Chick said, then walked off with a buzzing laugh. Evan groaned softly and followed the rest of the squad into the command tent. Inside, a hologram of the area flickered above the table. Akaran writing scrolled across the top, and a calm voice translated the data into several languages, including English. Commander Avella stood at the head of the table, arms crossed, speaking in short, direct sentences. "Our mission is simple," she said. "A mysterious signal was detected near the abandoned research post. We are to investigate, secure the site, and report. No aggression unless provoked." Her eyes moved across the squad until they landed on Evan again. "Lieutenant Cole, you will lead the forward sensor sweep. Stay ahead of the group. Report." "Anything unusual?" "Yes," Commander Evan replied, standing straighter. "Good." Her voice was calm, but her gaze lingered. Just a moment longer than necessary before she turned away. The rest of the day was a mix of preparation and awkward silence. Evan tried to focus on his equipment, checking his scanner and adjusting the drone that hovered over his shoulder. But he could feel Ravella's presence like a shadow watching, measuring, maybe even waiting. That night, as the squad camped near the canyon edge, Evan sat near the fire with his rations. Ravella approached without a sound and sat beside him. Evan glanced up. "Commander, you may call me Ravella. This is not formal time." "All right, Ravella." I held something in her armored hand and extended it to him. It was a small, dried fruit, sliced and sealed in a clear wrapper. "This is a Karenfield food," she said. "We do not share this without purpose. Accepting it means you respect the bond." Evan hesitated, remembering Chick's warning, but her expression was sincere. "In refusing it might be worse," He slowly took the packet. Thank you. Sat in silence for a moment. The stars above them sparkled brighter than anything back home. Evan looked up. It's strange, he said, being out here. We're so far from Earth and everything is unfamiliar, but the stars are still beautiful. Ravella followed his gaze. Your people are new to the stars, but you look at them with wonder. That is a strength. Many have forgotten how to wonder. Evan smiled. We're still learning. You learn quickly, she said. And you have courage. You looked at me without fear. I almost choked. Didn't mean to offend you. Didn't? She stood, her cloak shifting behind her. Tomorrow, we move at dawn. Rest well, Evan Cole. She walked away, leaving him staring at the stars and holding a fruit from another world. In that moment, Evan realized two things. First, he was part of something far bigger than any Earth mission. Second, this was going to be a very strange, very interesting assignment. The morning sun rose over the red canyon, casting a golden light across the rocks and dust. The squad moved out just after dawn, marching in formation along the cliffside path. Lieutenant Evan Cole led the front with his scanner as instructed. His drone buzzed softly overhead, sending live data to the team. Behind him walked Commander Ravella, silent as ever, her tall figure wrapped in that gleaming, beautifully carved armor. The others followed, Chick with his 2 rifles slung over 4 arms and Valoon. The quiet telepath wrapped in a silver robe that seemed to ripple like water. Evan tried not to look back too often. He could still feel the heat from the night before the moment Avella offered him a car and food. And now she walked near him, closer than before, as if she had claimed a spot beside him. Chick moved up beside Evan and clicked his mandibles. So, how's the honeymoon, Evan? Nearly tripped over a rock. What, Ravella? Armor stare? Shared food? You've basically signed a pre-bonding ritual in her culture. I didn't mean anything by it, Evan whispered. It was just curiosity. I respect her, that's all. She respects you too, Chick said, smirking in his own way. That's the problem. Before Evan could respond, the drone beeped. He paused, raising his scanner. Movement, he said. Northwest ridge. Something's watching us. Vella stepped forward, eyes sharp. Show me. Evan turned the screen toward her. The image flickered blurry shapes moving between the rocks. Could be native wildlife, he said. Could also be bandits, Ravella replied. The outer colonies. Reported attacks last cycle. We proceed carefully. Weapons ready, but no fire unless attacked. The team moved again. The tension in the air was clear. As they reached the edge of a broken tower part of the old research station, they stopped. Rusted metal panels, shattered glass, and collapsed walls surrounded them. The place had been abandoned for years. Nature was taking it back. Arvella turned to Evan. You and I will check the interior. The rest will form perimeter watch. Copy that, Chick said. I try not to get married in there. Evan gave him a look, then followed Avella inside. The broken corridor smelled of dust and machine oil. Light from cracks in the roof lit their path as they stepped carefully over debris. Evan's scanner showed old energy signatures, nothing recent, but Arvella moved slowly, her hand resting on her side blade. You are quiet, she said after a while. I'm focused, Evan replied. She glanced at him. Or nervous? He hesitated a little. I'm not sure I understand all your customs yet. She stopped walking. Which customs? The armor? The food? The way you look at me sometimes, he admitted. I think I've made a mistake. Stood tall, her silver eyes calm but direct. You showed interest. You looked without fear. That is not a mistake. Evan rubbed the back of his neck. On Earth we don't have the same meaning for those things. I didn't know. I wasn't trying to offend you. You didn't offend me, she said quietly. You honored me. Evan looked at her confused. What do you mean? Akrans are warriors? We are respected for strength, not kindness. We do not often receive attention without challenge. You stared at my armor not because you feared me, but because you admired it. That is rare. It is ... welcome. We didn't know what to say. A moment they stood in silence. Dust floated in the sunlight between them. Then a noise echoed from deeper inside the building. A scraping sound. Followed by a thud. Our single quotes Vila snapped back into action. Stay close. They followed the sound down a side corridor, weapons ready. At the end was a sealed door, partly melted from past damage. A dim light blinked on the panel beside it. Evan approached, scanned it, and frowned. It's using ancient data protocols. This place was researching something. Big. The panel buzzed. Wait. The door creaked open halfway. Inside was a circular chamber. Machines lined the walls, covered in dust. At the center was a glowing course, still faintly active. Symbols neither of them recognized were carved into the walls and floor. It's not a Quran, Ravella said. Not human either, Evan replied. He stepped closer to examine it. But before he could reach out, a voice rang through his comlink. Contact. Multiple hostiles. West side. Chick's voice shouted. Raiders. Avella turned fast. Move. They sprinted back through the corridor and burst into the open just in time to see plasma shots flying across the rocks. Raiders in patched armor were charging the perimeter. Chick fired back with 2 rifles, ducking behind cover. Valoon used her psychic field to block a blast aimed at her head. Evan ducked behind a broken wall and fired twice, hitting a raider's shield. Arvella, calm as ever, drew her side blade and rushed into melee spinning, striking, blocking with flawless precision. She moved like a storm. Evan tried to cover her from behind. But one raider climbed the cliff above and aimed at her exposed. Flank Evan acted without thinking. He rolled to the side, aimed, and fired one clean shot. The raider dropped. Arvella turned and saw him. Her expression changed just slightly. A flicker of something deeper passed in her eyes. She finished the last attacker with a sharp swing, then returned to Evan's side. You saved me, she said. You would have done the same, Evan replied. She nodded once. Yes, but not all would risk themselves. You did. The others. Gathered, the raiders had fled, leaving behind a few damaged weapons and gear. Chick kicked one of the fallen guns. Not smart, attacking a Peace Corps unit, but bold. Balloon stepped forward. They didn't come for us. They came for the artifact inside. Evan looked at Arvella. We need to report this. Something inside that facility is attracting attention. Arvella nodded, but her eyes remained on him. Later, as the sun set and the squad returned to camp, Arvella handed Evan a small metal pin carved with her clan symbol. This is a token of trust, she said. Evan held it, unsure what it meant. Exactly, but he knew one thing for certain. This mission had just become much more complicated and much more personal. The camp was quiet under the twin moons. A soft wind passed through the rocks, carrying the scent of dust and heat. The squad sat around a low-burning heat lamp. Pairs, scans, and reports had taken up most of the evening. Evan sat apart from the others, the small clan pin from Ravella still in his pocket, turned it over in his hand again and again, thinking about everything that had happened. The battle, the artifact, and Ravella. She hadn't said much after giving him the token. But every time she looked at him, it felt different now, not just duty, but something deeper. And that made him nervous. Chick walked over and sat beside him, his insectoid legs folding strangely as he leaned back. You're thinking a lot. Human, Chick said, clicking his mandibles. That can be dangerous. Evan chuckled. Maybe, but this whole mission feels like something bigger is happening. Chick nodded. Yes, and you are at the center of it, like a spark in dry grass. What do you mean? Tick looked at him with all 4 eyes. You touched something in that building, the artifact. It responded. Arvella noticed too. That is why she stays close to you. Evan frowned. You think the artifact is connected to me? I think it responded to you, Chick said. You're human. You're new to the galaxy. Fresh. Different. Maybe that matters. Before Evan could reply, the camp alarm blared. Warning. Incoming hostiles. Perimeter breach in Sector 4. All units to defense positions. Ravella's voice came through the comm. Positions now. The squad jumped into action. Evan grabbed his rifle, activated his drone. and ran toward the ridge with the others. From the cliff edge he saw them raiders. At least 20, some wore helmets. Others had bare, scarred faces. They weren't sneaking this time. They were charging. They're coming straight for the outpost, Balloon shouted, eyes glowing faintly as she raised a shield wall around. The entrance. Chick opened fire, spraying controlled bursts. Evan joined him, firing carefully. He aimed for the gaps in their armor, trying not to waste a single shot. "Hold this line," Ravella ordered from the front. She stood like a statue, her sword drawn and her armor glowing faintly with blue energy. Plasma blasts bounced off her shoulder plates as she moved forward with no fear. Evan saw one raider break through the line on the left. He spun and tackled the enemy, using the edge of his rifle to knock the weapon from the attacker's hands. They struggled, rolling through the dirt. Evan finally kicked him back and stunned him with a pulse shot. Another came from behind. Evan didn't see him until it was too late, but Arvella did. She moved like lightning, her blade flashing once. The raider fell, and she reached down to pull Evan to his feet. "You're reckless," she said. "You saved me again," he replied, breathless. "This is becoming a habit," she said, half smiling. And she turned and went back into the fight. The battle raged for another 5 minutes. Then the raiders began to retreat, leaving behind a few wounded and broken gear. The squad regrouped. Ravella scanned the scene, her armor scratched but still gleaming. "Why did they attack so directly?" she said aloud. "They weren't here for loot. They wanted the artifact," Evan said. They knew what was. Inside that research post, Balloon knelt beside a fallen raider and used her telepathy briefly. When she stood, her voice was serious. "They call it a star key. They believe it opens something ancient, a weapon, or a map." Chick whistled. "Wonderful. Raiders with myths. That always ends well." Evan looked at Ravella. "I think we need to go back inside?" She nodded slowly, agreed. "But first we rest, then we prepare. If that artifact truly responds to you, then you will be the one to unlock it." Later that night, the squad took turns on watch. Evan sat by, the heat lamp again, checking his gear. His armor was dusty, his hands sore, but his mind was sharp. Ravella approached silently, sitting beside him. She removed part of her shoulder armor, something rare for Acherons outside of personal quarters. She held it in her lap, polishing the edge. "You fight well," she said. Evan glanced at her. "I do my best. You protect others before yourself. That is rare." He smiled faintly. "That's what I was trained to do." Ravella looked at him carefully. "In my world, fighting beside someone means you share purpose. But saving someone, again and again, means you share more than that." Evan's heart beat a little faster. "You've saved me too." "Then we are even," she said with a quiet nod. They sat in silence for a while, the stars bright above them. Evan finally spoke. "Why do Acherons treat armor as something personal?" Arvella tapped the smooth metal with her fingers. "We are born into the armor. It is bonded to us as we grow. It holds our strength, our honor, and our story. Letting someone stare at it or touch, it is a choice, a powerful one." "And you chose to let me?" "I did," she said, "and you did not turn away." He looked down. "What happens now?" "Follow the path together," she said simply. "Whatever comes next." Just then, the drone pinged softly. New energy spikes from inside the research post. Evan stood, waking up again. Arvella rose beside him, placing her shoulder armor back into place. Then it's time. The next day, the squad gathered at the entrance of the ruined building again. This time, they weren't just exploring. They were going inside with a purpose. Evan stepped forward first. The artifact pulsed again as he approached. It was no longer faint, glowed, casting soft golden light across the room. "It's responding," Balloon whispered. Ravella placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is your moment, Evan Cole." He reached out his hand. The artifact hummed, and a panel on its surface opened, revealing a star map, vast, ancient, and filled with routes that no one had ever seen before. Chick leaned forward. "That's not just a map," That's a path, Balloon nodded. Something hidden, something powerful. Evan stared at it. We better find it before the wrong people do. Ravella stood beside him. Together. The ancient star map continued to glow inside the ruined research post. It moved slowly, showing lines of light across a black void paths to forgotten places. Unknown systems lit up one by one, forming a clear direction, but only when Evan stood close. The others watched in silence. It reacts only to him, Balloon whispered. Vella nodded. The artifact is bound to his signal, that cannot be ignored. Ch tilted his head. We have something powerful here, and something dangerous. If the raiders return, they'll want this map, or worse, follow it. Evan stepped back. From the device, then we need to move fast. This isn't just an old machine, it's a guide. Something or someone left it for a reason. Balloon's voice grew softer. There are stories, old ones, of a lost system that holds the voice of the stars. Many believe it's only a myth, but this map leads to that place. Ravella looked directly at Evan. Then we follow it. We defend it. Together, outside, the sky had darkened. Clouds drifted across the twin suns, and the wind carried new tension like a warning. Later that day, the squad gathered near the ridge for a planning session. Ravella laid out a new mission. Follow the coordinates from the artifact to a hidden planet deep in unclaimed space. Before they could leave, they needed clearance from the Peace Corps base 2 sectors away. Team would split. Chick and Balloon would stay behind to guard the artifact. Evan and Ravella would take the fast flyer and request transport support and reinforcements. As they packed supplies into the small transport ship, Evan glanced at Ravella. She had removed her outer armor plating and was wearing the lighter, flexible undersuit designed for travel. Her movements were swift, graceful, and focused. You don't slow down, do you? Evan asked. I cannot afford to, she replied. Karens are trained to act before the storm comes. He smiled. Do you ever rest? She paused, then looked at him. With those I trust, yes. The ship lifted off smoothly, cutting through the dusty sky. As they flew toward the distant base, the silence between them was calm, not awkward. Evan sat beside her, watching the stars through the front glass. Can I ask you something? He said. Double quotes. Yes. Why did you challenge that other Akaran warrior yesterday? He asked. The one who questioned me being in the squad. Ravella was quiet for a moment. Then she answered, He disrespected you, and by extension me. In my culture, that cannot go unanswered. You didn't have to fight for me. I chose to, she said. That means more. Evan nodded slowly. Back home, people don't fight duels for honor anymore. We just argue or complain. Then your world must be peaceful, she said. Not always, but we try. She gave a rare smile. That effort is strength, just like kindness. Evan looked at her closely. You always speak like a warrior poet. I am both, she said. Akaran children are taught war, but also meaning. We do not know why we fight, then we are. Only weapons. Evan leaned back in his seat, impressed. That explains a lot about you. She looked at him, her silver eyes steady. Does it explain why you keep looking at me? He froze, then laughed nervously. I don't know. Maybe I'm still trying to understand you. Ravella turned her gaze to the stars ahead. Understanding is the first step to unity. They arrived at the Peace Corps base late in the cycle. The station was built into the side of a rocky plateau, with blinking lights and landing pads. Soldiers moved quickly, most unaware of the storm building around them. Inside the main hall, Evan presented the scan data, the artifact records, and the active star map route. The commanding officer, a gray-haired human named Captain Brenner, listened carefully, then stood with folded arms. This is bigger than you realize, Lieutenant Brenner said. If that artifact truly leads to something ancient, we're not the only ones who'll chase it. They've already picked up signals multiple factions are searching the outer rim. You need to be careful. We understand, Evan said. We're requesting backup and permission to follow the map. Brenner nodded. I'll send a message to High Command. You'll get your answer within 1 day. Evan and Arvella were given a room in the guest barracks to rest while they waited. The room was small, but clean. 1 bed, 1 chair. 1 window facing the stars. I'll take the floor, Evan said quickly. Ravella raised 1 eyebrow. There is no need. I do not bite. He laughed. Still human comfort zone. She removed her boots and armor segments, then sat by the window. Tell me something about your people, something you miss from Earth. Evan thought for a moment. I miss music. We play instruments that tell stories. Guitars, pianos, flutes. Different sounds, different moods. Music, Ravella repeated. Ah! We have war drums and stringed tones for mourning. But I've never heard Earth songs. I'll play you one someday, he promised. She nodded. I would like that. Night, Evan couldn't sleep. He lay on the floor, staring at the ceiling. He kept thinking about the map, the artifact, and the way Ravella had looked at him when he risked himself in the fight. He sat up quietly and looked over at her. She was still sitting by the window, not asleep, just still, watching the stars. You're awake too, he said. I am always half awake, she replied. My mind does not rest easily. Same here, Evan said. She looked over her shoulder. Then come sit. No warrior should face the dark alone. He got up and joined her. For a while, they said nothing. The stars glowed, distant and endless. Finally, she spoke. In Akaran culture, a warrior who saves your life 3 times is considered bonded to your path. Evan raised an eyebrow. You saved me twice, I think. No, she corrected him. I saved you once. That makes the bond yours. Evan looked at her, surprised. I don't know what that means, he said honestly. You will, she replied. And then, for the first time, she placed her hand on his chest for a moment. A quiet touch, a silent promise. Outside the window, a distant star blinked, as if something far away had just awakened. The morning light was soft when Evan and Arvella returned to their outpost. Their small flyer cut through the sky, its engines humming low. Below them, the canyon stretched wide and red as before, but something felt different. Evan could sense it, like the air itself had become heavier. When they landed, Chick met them at the pad with a serious look. Valoon stood beside him, her silver robe fluttering in the wind. The artifact activated again last night, Chick said. On its own. Glowed so bright we thought it might explode, Valoon added. But then it calmed. And something new appeared. Ravella narrowed her eyes. Show us. They followed the two into the ruined research post. The artifact chamber still pulsed softly, but now a second layer of the star map was spinning above the main projection. It showed a distant planet. Marked in a golden ring, Evan stepped closer. The projection sharpened, reacting to his presence again. This is the final destination, Valoon said. The map has changed its focus. This planet's not marked in any known star chart. Tichik zoomed in on the map using his claws. It's located beyond the edge of explored space. A dead zone. No stations, no signals, just empty. Hidden, Ravella said. Evan's voice was quiet. This could be where the artifact came from. They all stood in silence, watching the golden-ringed planet spin slowly in the air. It felt ancient, secret, powerful. I believe Valoon said that this is not just a location. It's a test. Only those who can reach it tanned unlock the key meant to find whatever lies there. Evan looked at Arvella. And let's prepare. We're going. Over the next 2 days, the squad gathered supplies and upgraded their ship. The Peace Corps command had approved their mission and promised to send a backup team later. But Evan's squad would be the first to explore. Arvella trained harder than usual. She sharpened her blade, practiced combat drills, and barely rested. Evan watched her, concerned. You're pushing yourself too much, he said. She paused and looked at him. This mission is not like others. There are forces beyond war waiting for us, he nodded. Still, you don't have to carry it alone. Ravella glanced down. Hey. Then, in a quiet voice, she said, Among my people, when someone walks into the unknown, they do so with a chosen partner. A balance you are. That for me now. Evan didn't know what to say. He felt the weight of her words, but also something warm beneath it. Then I won't let you fall, he said. Not now, not ever. By the third day, their ship was ready. The artifact, now fully active, was placed inside a shielded cargo pod. It continued to pulse softly, like a heartbeat. Before leaving, Valoon took one final reading. Her expression darkened. What is it? Evan asked. The artifact is old, she said slowly. Very old. Far older than any species we know. And it's not just reacting to you. It's connected to you. Evan stared at her. What does that mean? I believe humans were always meant to find it, Valoon whispered. This was waiting for your kind. Ravella stepped forward. Then let us follow where it leads. The ship launched that evening with Evan, Ravella, Chick, Valoon, and 2 backup crew. They entered hyperspace, leaving known space behind. Hours passed in silence, as the stars outside turned into lines of white. The map showed they were nearing the edge of the dead zone. No communication, no markers, just blackness. Suddenly, alarms beeped. The ship dropped out of hyperspace without warning. What happened? Evan asked. Chick tapped the control panel. We hit something. A signal. A pulse field. Like a wall, Ravella asked. Valoon stared ahead, more like a door. Outside the ship, a structure floated in space. Huge, dark, ancient, like a gate made of stone and metal, with spinning rings and quiet lights. In the center was a hole just wide enough for their ship. The entrance, Ravella said. They flew through slowly. On the other side was a nebula-like space, glowing blue and green. In the middle of it, the planet. It looked peaceful, green with forests and white clouds, but something about it felt, watched, prepare to land. Evan said. The ship landed in a wide clearing on the planet's surface. Tall trees surrounded them. Strange birds sang in the distance. It looked untouched, beautiful, and wild. But as they stepped outside, the artifact began to hum louder. Evan opened the pod. The artifact floated gently in the air, spinning slowly. Then it shot forward toward the forest. After it. Shouted, they ran through the trees, following the glowing object as it weaved between branches and rocks. Finally, it stopped at the edge of a cliff. Below was a wide valley, covered in mist. And in the Centera temple, it looked like it had grown from the land itself. Stone pillars covered in vines rose from the ground. Symbols glowed faintly along the surface. The source? Valoon whispered. As they approached, the artifact hovered above a stone plate near the entrance. It released a beam of light that scanned Evan's body, then slowly lowered itself into a slot on the plate. With a deep sound, temple doors opened. Inside, lights flickered. The air felt heavy. Silent, Evan and Arvella walked side by side. Into the main chamber. At the center was a large round table, floating a few feet off the floor. On it, a smaller orb pulsed with light. When Evan touched it, the entire room came alive. Holograms of stars, planets, and ancient species appeared around them. A calm, deep voice echoed in an unknown language, but somehow they all understood it. You who have reached this place are the chosen ones. Carriers of memory. Keepers of peace. Protectors of what once was, and what may be again. Valoon gasped. It's an archive, and a message. A message for humans, Evan said softly. The hologram changed, now showing Earth, then showing human DNA strands woven with starlight. It's true, Valoon whispered. They knew about humans before humans even reached space. Arvella stood still, stunned. This place, it's waiting for you. Evan looked around, feeling a deep pull in his chest. Not fear, not pride, just purpose. He looked at his team. We're not just visitors anymore. We're part of something ancient, something big. Ravella stepped closer. Then we must protect it. And as the stars spun above them, the ancient light shining in their eyes, they knew everything was about to change. The ancient temple remained silent after the message faded. Its walls glowed with soft lights, and the air felt warm with energy. Evan stood in the middle of the chamber, looking at the stars above him, stars created by the holograms that still floated in the air. Ravella stood beside him, her eyes focused on the orb resting on the floating table. This place, she said quietly, was not just built to hold knowledge. It was meant to find someone. You. Evan nodded slowly, and now that it has, what do we do with it? Before anyone could answer, Valoon stepped forward, her voice calm but urgent. I feel something outside. Something. Approaching. Touch. Chick looked at his scanner and growled softly. Ships. 3 of them. Raiders. They must have followed our trail. Impossible, Evan said. This place was hidden. Not anymore, Ravella replied. The moment the artifact activated, it must have sent out a signal. One we didn't notice, and now they're here. The team rushed out of the temple, leaving the orb behind, still glowing faintly. Outside, the sky above the valley was no longer peaceful. Dark clouds were forming, and in the distance, streaks of fire flashed as raider dropships entered the atmosphere. They're coming in fast, Chick reported, landing in 3 minutes. We don't have enough firepower to face them. Directly, Ravella said. They'll outnumber us. We hold the temple, Evan said firmly. They can't take what's inside. Valoon nodded, agreed. If they get control of that archive, it could change everything across the galaxy. The team set up a defensive line near the cliff, using rocks and trees as cover. Chick placed motion mines along the outer path.
Vella adjusted her blades.
Energy settings. Valoon took a quiet breath and centered herself. Evan activated the drone above them. Let's give them a welcome they won't forget. The first raider squad arrived, moving through the forest with heavy boots and armored suits. They wore dark helmets with red visors. One of them raised a scanner and pointed toward the temple. There, shouted. The battle started instantly. Plasma. Fire lit up the trees. Chick fired both rifles, hitting 2 raiders before ducking behind a stone. Valoon raised a psychic shield, blocking blasts from reaching Ravella, who rushed forward with incredible speed. Her blade sliced through 2 enemies before they even reacted. She moved like lightning, graceful and deadly. Evan stayed near the drone, marking targets and calling out positions. They're flanking from the right. I see them, Chick shouted, launching a grenade. The explosion lit up the forest. But more raiders kept coming. Second squad landed near the temple's rear entrance. They're trying to enter from the other side, Valoon called out. I'll go, Evan shouted, sprinting across the field with his rifle. Ravella ran with him, not alone. Together they reached the rear gate just in time. 3 raiders were climbing the steps. Evan fired, hitting one. Ravella leaped forward, knocking the other 2 down with a powerful strike, as the last raider stood to fight. Ben aimed carefully and fired. The blast hit the enemy's side, sending him crashing down the stairs. Ravella looked at Evan. That was well timed. Guess I'm learning, he said with a grin. More enemy signals appeared on Chick's scanner. Another squad inbound. Heavily armed. Can't hold them forever, Valoon warned. Ravella nodded. Then we end it now. She turned to Evan. You must return to the orb. There may be something more inside it. A command. A weapon. A way to protect this place. Evan looked uncertain. What if I don't understand it? You will, she said, because it's meant for you. Evan ran back into the temple. Alone, heart pounding. The orb still floated above the table, pulsing with light. He reached out. His hand touched the orb. The lights in the temple flared. A voice filled the room. Calm, ancient, final command, unlocked. Confirm your purpose. Evan blinked. What purpose? The voice continued. Are you a guardian or a seeker? One who protects or one who searches? Evan thought for a moment. I'm both, he said. I protect the truth. I search for peace. The orb glowed brighter. The holograms above him shifted, forming a shield around the temple, and creating a barrier of energy that spread across the valley. Outside, as the raiders closed in, A dome of light burst upward from the temple. It rose high into the sky and then settled into a shimmering shield across the valley's edge. The raiders stopped, confused. Plasma blasts bounced off the dome like rain. Chick laughed. "Looks like the boy did it." Arvella's eyes widened.
Activated the last defense.
The raiders tried again, but nothing broke the barrier. Slowly, they began to retreat. The squad watched as the ships pulled away into the clouds. When Evan returned, his body was tired, but his eyes glowed with energy. "The archive. It's protected now," he said, "and it gave me something else." He held out his hand. In it was a crystal disc, small, glowing, and warm. "It's a key," he said. "2 more archives. More worlds." This was just the beginning. That night, the team camped outside the temple. Energy shield kept them safe. The stars above were clear, and for the first time in days, there was peace. Evan sat near the fire. Ravella walked over and sat beside him. "You did well," she said. "You were brave." "I had help," he said, smiling. They were quiet. "For a moment, does this change things between us?" he asked. Arvella turned to him in a Koran tradition. When 2 warriors survive a battle together and protect a sacred place, they are bound by more than loyalty. Evan's voice was soft. "What are they bound by?" "Honor," she said, "and heart." She gently removed a piece of her armor and placed it beside him. A gift. A sign. Evan looked at her. "Then I accept that bond," she smiled. Together they sat beneath the stars, not as soldier and commander, not as human and alien, but as 2 souls on a shared path. The dawn broke quietly over the valley, washing the temple in its glowing shield and soft light. Birds sang in the distance, and the scent of fresh earth filled the air. For the first time in many cycles, there was calm. Evan stood near the edge of the clearing, looking out at the peaceful landscape. The crystal key rested in his palm, warm and pulsing with gentle light. It was a reminder of everything they had found and everything still ahead. Arvella approached, her armor shining softly in the morning sun. She moved with the grace of a warrior and the quiet confidence of someone who had seen many battles, but still believed in hope. "You're ready?" she said simply. Evan smiled. "I feel like I've learned more in these days than in all my training before." "That's because you have," Ravella said. "Not just about survival, but about trust, honor, and purpose." He looked at her. "About you too." Her eyes met his, steady and true. "I never expected this," Evan admitted. That someone so strong, so fierce, could also care." Ravella smiled, a rare softness crossing her features. "Strength and care are not opposites. They are partners. Without one, the other cannot stand." The squad gathered near the temple's entrance, ready to leave. The Peace Corps transport ship had arrived, sleek and waiting. Orders had come through. The mission was a success. But the real journey was just beginning. Valoon folded her robe and tucked the last supplies away. Chick checked his weapons one last time. "We've done well," Valoon said. "But the galaxy is larger than we imagined." Evan nodded. "And the artifact's secrets are deeper than we thought." Before boarding, Arvella turned to Evan and spoke quietly. "The bond we share now, it is not just for battle. It is for life." He took her hand gently. "Then let's face it together." The ship lifted off smoothly, rising above the valley and into the stars. Outside the window, the planet grew smaller, Jewel surrounded by the dark. Inside the cabin, the team was silent, each lost in thought. But the quiet was comfortable, not heavy. Evan looked at the crystal key again, wondered about the other archives, the other worlds it might lead to, about the future for all of them. Ravella placed a hand on his arm. "Whatever comes next, we are stronger together." He smiled. "I wouldn't want it any other way." Days later, back at the Peace Corps base, Evan and Ravella received a hero's welcome. Their story spread quickly, how a human and an Acheron warrior had unlocked the secrets of an ancient civilization and defended the galaxy's future. But for them, the real victory was quieter. In the evenings, they trained side by side. Stories of their worlds, learned from each other's strengths. Sometimes Evan would catch Arvella looking at him not with command or duty, but with something warmer, and he knew without words that this was the beginning of something new. One evening, as the sun set over the base, Evan held the small clan pin she had given him long ago. "Do you remember this?" he asked. Arvella nodded. "It was the start of everything," he smiled. "Then I have something for you." From his pocket he pulled out a simple ring, a symbol of trust and promise. "It's not our custom," he said, "but maybe it can be ours." Her eyes glistened with surprise and joy. "I accept," she said softly. Together, they looked out at the stars, ready to face whatever came next. For in the vastness of space, amid countless worlds and mysteries, two souls had found each other, and that made all the difference. End of story.